Yo, what's up? This is my, welcome to the video. This is my first video, actually. Kind of, wait, hold on, let's get it back out of my driveway. It's my first video, and I can't really do much because I'm stuck in quarantine. So I'm just literally just going for a drive, staying in the car. I'm not going anywhere other than just driving. Because I had to go get tested for something, for COVID, just as a precaution. So there's not much to do, and I've always had this kind of like itch to want to just make a video. And an itch to, kind of like, the itch is kind of like to create something. I've always wanted to create something, and I feel like this is the perfect opportunity. I gotta take a chance. I gotta take the time that I have now to just do this. So this is more of like a advice-y video, right? I'm gonna kind of give my 2 cents on what I think about a certain topic, something that I'm currently having to deal with and like do, right? Just like anyone else, and it's a very common thing. It's about, the topic is about acceptance. So what I mean by acceptance, well, I'm talking about just the idea of accepting situations, right? So accepting how things are, or how things, transpired in your own life, events that happened, something like that. And I've noticed that I read a lot of like comments online, social media, Instagram, YouTube videos, some articles, and they talk a lot about acceptance, and I feel like they don't really hit the nail on it. So I wanted to just like clarify and just kind of debunk a certain few myths, because I've read a lot about mindfulness and about Buddhist practice and all these types of things, and they talk a lot about acceptance, right? And I feel like an important aspect that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to acceptance is they leave out that it's a twofold process, right? What I mean by twofold process, I feel like acceptance is not only accepting the situation that happened, right? Whatever that may be. Is it a breakup? Girlfriend cheated on you, boyfriend cheated on you, divorce, someone sick in your family, whatever it may be. And it's not only about accepting that, but it's about accepting the emotions that come with it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people have the trouble on, right? And I bring this back to a story, a cool story, and it's called The Story of the Two Arrows. I don't know if you know about this story, but I'll explain it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I'll explain it anyways, just in case. Very brief story. So the story of the two arrows is a Buddhist teaching that describes, the arrow describes pain. It's a metaphor for pain. So the first arrow that we get hit with is an arrow of pain that comes from the external environment. It comes from around you. So a divorce is a form of an arrow, right? Your wife says, or your husband says, I'm done with this, I don't want to be here anymore, it's over, right? That's the first arrow. That initial arrow is going to cause anger, frustration, all the normal emotions that people will go through, right? You're going to start crying, however you express yourself. That's the first arrow. The second arrow is the arrow that we ourselves shoot. It's the internal arrow. So the second arrow is the arrow of pain that we inflict on ourselves in reaction to the initial pain. So, example is, I get hit by the arrow and I cannot accept the fact that my wife wants to divorce me. And so I add much more stress and much more pain to myself, because I'm unwilling to accept that this is her decision, right? And it's understandable, and it's a two-way process, right? But this can happen in many other occasions. It can happen with someone who left you for someone else already, right? And if that occurs, what do you do then? So the arrow that we kind of normally, and this is the one that causes the most suffering, by the way, it's the second arrow, is the one where you start blaming yourself. So that's the arrow we start inflicting on ourselves, the arrow of I'm not good enough. Where did I fuck up? Where did I go wrong? What did I do that wasn't correct, right? Where was the moment that I made a mistake that it started to go downhill, right? And you start becoming very conscious, self-conscious in yourself. You start thinking a lot about what you did and saying it's your fault. And that's the second arrow. And we do this because we're unwilling. And the reason why I'm bringing this arrow, stories of the arrow up, is because when it comes to acceptance, people, myself included, I'm not an exception to this. I'm not some like prophet or anything like that at all. You know, I fall into this trap all the time too. But I try to be as aware as possible, and hopefully what I say can resonate with you. And there's a problem here when you're causing yourself that own suffering. The reason why you're saying all these negative things about yourself is because you are unwilling to tolerate the emotions that come with the initial arrow. You're unwilling to tolerate the emotions that come, the pain that comes with what happened to you. And because we're unwilling to accept it, and we want a quick fix and we want to get off as soon as possible, a lot of us tend to increase our own suffering by saying these things about ourselves. And the brain is only trying to help you in a fucked up way. It really is, right? Because it doesn't want you to go through that pain again. So it makes you obsess sometimes over your mistakes. It makes you obsess. And that's the arrow that actually causes the most pain. However, if we were to take a step back and instead of acknowledging the accepting the situation itself, which is that part of the healing process, accepting that, hey, it's over, it's done, whatever it is. The real important part to accept is the emotions. Riding the emotions, accepting that they're there, and no matter what you do, they're gonna stay there for as long as they need to. Because if you keep on intervening by saying it's your fault, if you keep on intervening by saying this shouldn't have happened, I don't want this to happen, it can't be my fault, I need to fix it, because that's why I'm saying it's my fault. You're trying to fix it. You're trying to fix it so that maybe you could patch things up so you don't have to experience pain anymore. And I understand that. But I think when it comes to the idea of acceptance, we really have to be honest and tell ourselves that we need to accept not just the situation, but the emotions that come with the situation. And the myth here, the big myth here, is the idea that by accepting, it's going to cure you. But that's the truth. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Acceptance does not mean that your emotions are going to suddenly just be poof, gone. They need to be expressed in a way without you intervening too much into it. That's how it has to go, unfortunately. And it's tough. But I like to use this analogy. It's something that I have observed myself, and I think you could put it into your own life and see it play out for yourselves. I was at a doctor's office. Don't know how long ago, I don't remember how long ago, but I was at a doctor's office, and I remember seeing a little boy. And this little boy needed to get his needle. I overheard them talking, and the boy was not having it. He didn't want it. He didn't want to go. His face was red. He was crying his eyes out. No, I don't want it. I don't fucking want it. I don't fucking want it. Well, he didn't say I don't fucking want it, but that's probably how he felt. He didn't want it. He didn't want to have anything to do with that needle. And there was no changing the mother's mind. The mother was like adamant, like, no, you need to get this needle, right? Probably getting like a shot, vaccine or something of, I don't know what it was, but he's getting a shot. Who knows for what reasons? So he's getting a shot, and he didn't want to get it. And then I looked at the kid from the waiting room, and I saw him, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, it's funny how the kid's reacting that way to uncomfortable emotions, you know, something that he doesn't want. And it's like, that's no different than adults, you know. It's no different than adults at all. They're the same way. Adults, when they, you know, instead of just going through the pain, you know, like, think about it this way. Like, that kid, all he needed to do was suck it up for literally like maybe 10 seconds. That's all he needed to do. Suck it up for like 10 seconds. Get that needle. Yes, it hurts, but boom, pain's gone. But the kid threw a 10-minute temper tantrum. 10 minutes of freaking out. You had to like hold the kid down. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what would happen if we as adults, when things don't go our way, when things happen that we don't want to happen, what would happen to us if we would allow it to just be there and take the hit, take the needle, in a sense, the arrow, whatever you want to call the metaphor, whatever metaphor you want to use for the pain. What if we just stood there and took it and went through the turmoil of whatever experiences we have and just let it flow through us without fighting it the way the kid did? So I'm just thinking, like, in general, like, before I end this video, it's kind of like, what's your needle in your life, right? What's the arrow that you have in your life right now, if you have one? If you don't, good for you. Happy. It's good. I have an arrow in my life. I'm not going to explain what it is, but I have one. And I'm doing my best to help myself with that. But what's the arrow that you have, right? What's your needle that you need to either take it, right? Do you need to give yourself the needle, or do you need to let go of the needle and throw it away because it doesn't serve you? Because we tend to cling onto things that provide us pleasure, but in that process of pleasure, we're also suffering a lot, you know? That's what I mean about the letting go part. So, like, what are you doing for yourself? Like, what do you need to let go, or what do you need to give yourself? What's the needle that you need to take? Essentially, what's the pain? Essentially, what's the pain that you're trying to get away from? And I would invite you to research and to look into the idea of accepting not just the situation, but learning how to accept your emotions. And maybe that could help you out. But before you do that, try and look at your own life and ask yourself, what's the needle or arrow that I'm running from, or that I need to take out of my life? I think that's a very important thing that a lot of us don't put much thought into, right? Because it's uncomfortable. But sometimes put yourself in have those uncomfortable conversations with yourself. Be a little more honest with yourself, you know? Be a little more honest with yourself if you feel like maybe you're in denial about something. I don't know what it is. But be honest with yourself and be able to, like, face that uncomfortableness of, you know, there's something that's bothering me that I really need to fix. Or, like, you know, because sometimes in order to accept a certain emotion, you know, there's only so much that acceptance can do until you can't cope with it anymore, but you actually got to do something, right? So just think about that. And I'll have some more stuff for you later, but those are my thoughts on acceptance. I've always just want to see how people react to it and how they. I'm just curious to see the responses. I'm curious to hear what's your needle or anything like that, or if you have something like that. It's cool. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.